All right, everyone, welcome back to another video and the final part of this book. This is going to be the only video today from these books. Tomorrow we will continue with book number 2, and obviously, yeah, it's a little odd there, but book number 2 starts tomorrow. But this video is going to be maybe longer, shorter than usual. I'm not sure. We'll see by the end of it. But let's get into it. Last time we left off here with the Germans break through the Ukraine. We're now on to this. And this will probably take a little bit. So don't mind my long-winded speeches, I guess. Churchill and Roosevelt meet. On August 14th, it was announced that President Roosevelt and Prime Minister Churchill had met at sea on board HMS Prince of Wales and the U.S. cruiser Augusta. At these meetings, they discussed matters of vital importance to the two countries and issued the Atlantic Charter. The 8 points are printed below. The pictures show above and to the right of the two leaders at a Sunday morning service aboard Prince of Wales. Oh, sorry. My nose was acting up. Surrounded by the members of their staffs who accompanied them. Below, left, Mr. Churchill's hands Mr. Roosevelt on the arm of his son Elliot, a personal letter from King George. So here, we'll look at the pictures first, and then we'll get into the 8 points. So there we see President Roosevelt and Mr. Churchill. And here we see President Roosevelt being given a letter by Mr. Churchill, and that's his son, Elliot. And you can kind of tell from these, but as many Americans as we learned, President Roosevelt was really he wasn't fully wheelchair bound, but he was mostly wheelchair bound by this point. That's kind of why he's doing this, because he can't hold himself up. So if you notice, they're doing everything they can to make him look strong, but yeah, he's probably struggling, but he's doing his best for the American people. That's all we can ask. And also, here is another picture that it may get into, but yeah, we'll probably get back to that, and I'll tell you what that is exactly. So here's the 8 points of the Atlantic Charter. Number 1. Oh, whoops. Oh, let me try to get this to... Okay, it doesn't want to focus. There we go. Number 1. Their countries seek no arrangement... oh my gosh. I am so sorry. Their countries seek no aggrandizement. Aggrandizement, territorial or otherwise. So that's basically, they won't give up territory no matter what. Number 2. They desire to see no territorial change that do not accord with the freely expressed wishes of the peoples concerned. Number 3. They respect the right of all people to choose the form of government under which they will live. Number 4. They will endeavor with due respect for their existing obligations to further enjoyment by all states, great or small, victor or vanquished, of access on equal terms to the trade and to the raw materials of the world which are needed for their economic prosperity. Number 5, they desire to bring about the fullest collaboration between all nations in the economic field. Number 6, after final destruction of German tyranny, they hope to see established a peace which will afford to all nations the means of dwelling in safety within their own boundaries. Number 7, such a peace should enable all men to traverse the high seas and oceans without hindrance. Oh, there we go. Number 8. They believe all nations of the world, for realistic as well as spiritual reasons, must come to the abandonment of the use of force, since no future peace can be maintained if land, sea, or air armaments continue to be employed by notions which threaten or may threaten aggression outside of their frontiers. They believe disarmament of such nations is essential. They will likewise aid and encourage all practicable measures which will lighten the crushing burden of armament. So these are the 8 points. And here's just another reason why America really wasn't neutral. We had a side and we had a hat in this game, I think is the term. Or horse in this race. Let's go with that. We had a horse in this race. We just didn't want to fight. That was what it really comes down to. But, yeah. Yeah. These are interesting points. Obviously, they don't last. Because right after this, the Cold War happens, basically. So this peace that they're wishing for, it just never comes true. But at least they had a small peace for the time being. And also, it still never went over what this picture was, I don't think. I'm guessing that's just the troops from both the ships meeting up. Just saying, hey, how's it going? Hanging out together. Could be another version of this picture here. I believe that is, maybe. This is this picture, and then here's just a different angle of it. That's pretty neat. The Eastern Front after 2 weeks. June 22nd to August 17th, 1941. German advanced in the east. After 8 weeks of bitter fighting, the main German objectives of Moscow, Leningrad, and Kiev, whichever you prefer, were still in Russian hands. Despite the 7th and 8th weeks, however, the enemy drive in the north threatened to encircle Leningrad. Whilst in the central sector, the fall of Smolensk on August 13th brought the enemy nearer to Moscow. In the Ukraine, the Russians were forced towards the Dnieper, leaving Kiev at the apex of a dangerous salient. The lines of the advance are shown. So here we see the main German attack, and the lines that they push up. So I'll make sure. Here's the attack from the thrust from Romania, whichever you prefer. Romania. The push here. And they push up to here, and you can see Odessa has been surrounded. And they're pushing up to here. It's getting a Krivoborg, Tiraspol. No, Sopol. I don't know. I don't know how I would say it. We can see them moving in the south. There's the Dnieper. There you can see they're very much moving in on it. Also, Stalino. And here we see the huge pushes in from Bessarabia into the Ukraine. And here we see push from here. This is from Hungary. Pushing in. And their lines get to about here and then to here. And yeah, I'm going further north here. You can see all the lines pushing in from Poland. You can see they got to Smolensk there. That's their latest line. Also, here is the this. We'll look at this again. And here is any naval actions. But yeah, they encircle Leningrad. As many of those who have studied this war know, they do encircle Leningrad, and that city suffers horribly for a long, long time. British and Russians enter Iran, August 25th, 1941. German threat to Iran removed. After having made several unsuccessful protests to the Iranian government regarding the presence of an unnecessarily large German colony in that country, Britain and Russia sent troops into Iran on August 25th. Their objectives were Tehran, the capital, and the oil wells centered around Abadan. Only slight opposition was encountered, and on the 28th, after the fall of the pro-German government, the Shah ordered troops to cease resisting. On August 31st, British and Russian forces met near Kazvin to the northwest of the capital, where courtesies were exchanged between the British and the Russian commanders. Map shows lines of advance. So up above here, this is the oil wells near Abadan. And yeah, the British and the Russians were not going to let the Germans have any chance of free oil fields, basically, which you could see as, I mean, they are invading a sovereign nation that's not in this war because of this, which is wrong, by the way, but they still did it. One of the darker sides of the war, but still. And here we can see, also, look at that spelling of Iraq. That is weird. Here, I'll give you a little bit. Here's the legend. Okay, we can see from the Persian Gulf, they pushed in from the south. They pushed in from Iraq. And there's the push-ins from Russia, which, it's the Soviet Union. Let's just be straight. Soviet Union. They pushed in, the Russians pushing in from or I should say, the Soviets. The Soviets pushing in south, they're going south into Iran. The British are going north, pushing in. And yeah, then Iran falls, basically, and the government is basically overthrown because it's a pro-German. So, guess that's fair. The Germans advance across the wheat fields of the Ukraine. August 18th to 28th, 1941. Germans push into the Ukraine. After the fall of Nikolaev Marshal Boudin's army, after the fall of Nikolaev, I believe that's right, Marshal Boudin's armies fell back in good order towards the broad river Dnieper. On August 17th, however, with the objective of crossing the river higher up and outflanking the Russians, the Germans made a determined thrust at Gomel, halfway between Smolensk and Kiev. But determined counterattacks by suicide divisions held the attackers, whilst the retreat further south continued. On August 28th, the Russians announced the fall of Dnipropetrovsk. Not going to try to repronounce that, but the city on the Dnieper that we saw in a previous map. The great Ukraine Steel City on the west bank of the Dnieper, and the blowing up of the remaining bridges. Meanwhile, the counterattack in Gomel area was gaining ground in spite of heavy reinforcements, which the Germans were throwing in. The picture showed German tanks in the Ukraine crossing in the Ukraine, crossing wheat fields that have been fired by the Russians. So there we see those Germans crossing into the wheat fields. And yeah, scorched earth. They're trying to burn all this food so that the Germans can't get it. Because if they can get it, then they will have free supplies. And that's not good for the Russians. They don't want that. Or the Soviets. I keep saying the Russians because they keep saying the Russians. But it's not just the Russians. There's other people here. Moscow and Leningrad prepare to resist the enemy. August 25th to September 2nd, 1941. German advance threatens 2 key cities. While the battle at Gomel was raging, 2 German thrusts further north threatened Moscow and Leningrad. The former, a continuation of the Smolensk attack, gained little ground against the stubborn Soviet resistance. It says Russian, I'm going to say Soviet. But the latter made more headway, and on August 25th, the Soviets announced the evacuation of Novgorod, 100 miles south of Leningrad. On August 27th, the enemy claimed that they had cut the Moscow-Leningrad railway, and on September 2nd, the Soviets announced the fall of Tallinn in Estonia. While these battles were raging, the people of the 2 chief cities were preparing to defend their homes to the end. Women in Moscow, like those seen digging anti-tank ditches on the left, worked with their menfolk to strengthen the city's defenses in answer to Stalin's appeal to keep the enemy at bay at all costs. The picture above shows the German shock troopers advancing amid the flames and smoke of burning buildings in an attempt to penetrate the flexible Soviet lines. So here we see all of these people digging anti-tank ditches. And yeah, the defense from the Soviets is pretty astonishing, really. They lose so many men, huge encirclements really early on. Just countless times. And the citizens, they are like, Stalin says, go out, go build stuff. We need everyone to put the work in, and everyone puts the work in. No one is really sitting behind. One, because they could get killed because it was a direct order from Stalin. But also, they were going to defend their cities. And we can see all these women, and there are men in there too, usually older, but are building these ditches. They're going to defend this city tooth and nail. And Leningrad shows that. They do. They sit there and they defend that city for a long time. It never actually falls, which is a testament. But, I mean, they suffer horribly for it, which, was it worth it? Who's to say? And there's the shock troops. They're moving up, even though there's flames and all that, because they needed to win. They can do this. They know they can do it, which they can do it for a little bit, but not forever. The Soviets are the sleeping bear. He's not quite woken up yet. Stalin very much put that bear under with some powerful stuff for a little bit, but they will wake up. And here is the last page of this book. Action at Sea, Honors for a Queen. September 1941. Mediterranean Sea Battle. Units of the Italian fleet engaged by British convoy escort on the way from Alexandria to Malta. A cruiser is smoke screening the convoy while forward guns of another roar. So there we see all the smoke screens and, yeah, the guns firing off, attacking the enemy. Very neat. And then, here's a very important queen. Oxford honors a queen in exile. Queen Wilhelmina of the Netherlands inspects a Dutch guard of honor in the quadrangle of Oxford after ceremonies in which she received a honorary degree. Yeah, Queen Wilhelmina, very important for the Dutch people in this time. But yeah, obviously they gave her an honorary degree, but she was pretty smart from what I know of her. She was pretty smart, so she probably could have got that degree the old-fashioned way. All right, well, that's it for this entire book. I want to thank everyone that watched this playlist. If you watched all of it, if you just got into the middle and didn't go back, that's fine too. If you guys just enjoyed this, that's all that matters to me. If you like this video, leave a like. I would recommend going back and watching the other, but you don't have to. You can jump in at any time. Most people that are watching this probably know the war pretty well. But if you didn't like this video, leave a dislike and tell me in the comments, hey, this is what you can improve on. I would appreciate that feedback, and I will take that in. I will do my best to enact on that. And as always, subscribe. It really helps out the channel. I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers, which is great. I didn't think I would ever get this far, and it's all thanks to you guys. And if you watch my shorts, so thank you to that too. And I really appreciate it. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart so much. And I'll see you tomorrow with 2 more videos of the next book and the next chapter of the war.